Hi, everyone, and welcome to Autism Hope Library. I'm just super excited. I have just an awesome guest today and a really important topic. Welcome, Heather Grimaldi, and we are talking about understanding behaviors, structures, and consistency, which is so important for our kiddos. So welcome, Heather. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be on here. Thank you.
So for those that are watching right now and maybe haven't seen any of your videos out there yet, if you haven't, you need to go find all the work that Heather does. Can you give a little background of why you're so passionate about helping our community?
Absolutely. So I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I started an ABA company. I sold it in 2016 to Autism Learning Partners. I very passionate about ABA, and then I got very into nutrition and supplements because of diagnoses going on with my own daughters, and became very passionate about nutrition and looking at nutrient deficits. And then I got involved with our own Dr. Shea with Simple Spectrum, creating a supplement, just a better supplement on the market that's free of gluten, casein, binding agents. I had no idea the junk that were in most supplements. So I just am so passionate about helping families and giving back. And like I said, it stems from my own struggles with my own daughters. And honestly, I got into this field because I had a cousin that was diagnosed at kind of a more impressionable age. I was like 15, 16. And then that was a while ago, like 25 years ago, that you didn't hear that much about autism then. And I became very interested in it. And I just continued in this field and just love helping families and giving back. So
I love that. And, for those of you that don't know Heather, she has just the biggest heart and is just full of energy always and just always positive. And I love, reading about your tips online. And so I thought this would be such a great interview for all of our families out there watching. Yeah. So the first question I have for you, do you have any tips for structure and consistency during these times? Because if you're watching right now, just know we're filming it and this was during the COVID time. So if you happen to watch it, far after that, then yay! But I bet you it will still, there'll still be some tips that you'll definitely need. But during these crazy times that we're living right now, do you have any tips for structure and consistency for our families out there?
Absolutely. Right now, I think more than ever, our kids on the spectrum, not on the spectrum, children need structure and consistency. And right now it's a crazy time. So I printed some things that I actually use with my own daughters every day. I love making like a schedule, visual schedule. So my child knows understands what to expect next. And I love the ones that she gets to help fill it in with me and drawing pictures and I'm filling it in. I think that seeing a picture and just knowing what to expect is so important. I love that. It can be something like that. It can be something like this. And then you can checking off what you completed. But visual schedules are great. Social stories are great. Just things that help with consistency. Priming, lots of proactive teaching strategies, giving your child choices and having them involved as well in your day and daily activities. Like, you might be doing a lot of indoor activities because of what's going on, but thinking of some outdoor activities and non-preferred and preferred tasks on a schedule that you guys are putting together. But that shared control is just so important. I also love being a BCBA, I'm all about reinforcement. So even doing this, my own daughters, June's PowerPoints, but a token board. Token boards are great for reinforcement and knowing what to expect and reinforcing appropriate behaviors as well.
So you use the word priming for those that are listening. What does priming mean?
Priming is like a warning, so using things like a timer or a 5-minute warning. You're at the park playing with your child, but giving them a 2-minute warning, a 5-minute warning. Nobody likes, in general, I feel like when you spring it on them, hey, it's time to go, we're going now. I know if my husband in general was like, hey, we're going right now to dinner, I'm like, what? I need 30 minutes or whatever it is to get ready. But priming, it's just a great proactive teaching strategy to help a child get ready for a certain situation.
And then you also said non-preferred and preferred. So is that things that the child wants to do, and then some maybe chores, or can you give us
Exactly. So non-preferred might be exactly like you said, like a chore or writing the alphabet or something like that. And a preferred, or brushing teeth, all things like that, daily activities that you might have planned. preferred might be obviously going outside and playing, riding a bike, different stuff like that, going to the beach, different things like that.
And then what happens with some of our kiddos, you know, because we've seen a lot of these charts, what happens when something, you know, let's say you're 1 through 5 and number 3 suddenly you can't do for whatever reason, right? How then do you then, you know, maneuver that into teaching your child that sometimes we plan and it's not always perfect?
Exactly. So those are kind of rigidity things that you kind of have to work on as well, because that is difficult. Change is difficult, especially for a child on the spectrum as well. So once again, priming them and letting them know that maybe we can't get to that, but also trying to create a schedule that realistically you might be able to finish. So, you know, maybe only a few of those things you know for sure that you'll be able to finish.
And then you talked about social stories. So what are your thoughts on social stories? And for those watching that might not know what social stories are, can we give a little description on those?
Absolutely. So a social story is more of like a picture booklet with some writing as well, but going through what your child might be doing that day. Like I like to do them for going to the doctor, going to the dentist. I really haven't got my kids out of the house that much, but I actually did a social story about going to the supermarket, because right now the supermarket, and we hadn't been going, I hadn't been bringing the kids, but it looks a lot different. The kids going and having to wear masks or seeing people with masks, but understanding what to expect and seeing this as well. And so that they're a little bit more prepared. It just really helps with preparation. I use it from everything, also going to the dentist's office, but I like to have my own kids involved. It doesn't need to be some elaborate like picture story, like your amazing story, but just something like a little stick figure thing that I'm drawing out with them so they know what to expect and what's next.
So one of the things that I do too, and tell me what your thoughts on this. So sometimes I don't always have time to make books. And so if I know, for example, like we're going to go to the doctor's or, you know, we have to go to the store, I will take pictures ahead of time. And then even during that, like, so then for the next time, right? So we had to go to the bank and he had to wear a mask. And so I started taking some pictures of him getting in the car wearing the mask, going to the bank wearing the mask. Yeah. And so then if, you know, later I could talk to him about it, because sometimes, you know, you don't always have it primed or ready beforehand. Yeah. But you might have some pictures showing like, oh, here's the bank or here's the grocery store. And even pulling up from Google, because today we can get so many pictures on Google, you know, you could put in there like mask at the grocery store images. And that way you literally can just use your, you know, your cell phone.
Yeah.
And go through the pictures and talk about it. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I love them. I actually think pictures usually work the best because then they can see and they understand and it's them in it. But some people don't always have access to stuff like that. So if you can't, this is kind of the next best thing. But pictures are usually always the best, I think. And like I said, when they can see themselves in it. So even when I am writing this story with the stick figures, I like my children to write them in this story, and it's a picture of them so they can relate, and it's more relatable. But pictures definitely always, I tend to see those work best. So
well,
I agree.
That too, because there's different options of social stories. So people that are watching, you know, I've had a lot of people say, I don't have time to make books. It's like, okay, well, if you don't, everybody can grab their phone and grab some pictures and go, hey, let's talk about this. So it can also just be showing pictures, talking about it. But I also love that you can print up the pictures later and then also make a book and have it for later. So great ideas with that. I
love it. I have like a library of all the different places and things where we're going and what we're doing, like kind of ready to go, which I'm sure you probably have stuff like that too with pictures and that kind of stuff.
I love that. I think that's great. So let's talk about the functions of a behavior. So what are the functions of a behavior?
So I think one thing that I hear from a lot of people right now, like it's crazy times and don't understand why certain behaviors are happening. And there are no bad kids. There's always a function of a behavior, why it's happening. Like there's children that have minimal language, that have difficulty expressing stuff. So we want to understand why a behavior is happening. So there's access to tangible because somebody wants, they want access to something, they want something. There's escape, avoidance because they don't want to do something. So they want to get out of having to clean their room or doing homework, whatever it is. They're self-stimulatory as well. And so, and then there's I guess the sensory is the more of the automatic reinforcement as well. So, but those are the only, it's funny to think that those are the only functions of behavior too. But attention is a huge one that we see, especially right now. And the thing that I see is, my kids see me at home a lot more, and you would think that like, oh, they're getting all this attention that they need right now, but they're not. Just because I'm there doesn't mean they're actually getting the attention, because I'm working from home and I'm doing things. So I love doing things like, I'm sure you're familiar with like NCRs, non-contingent reinforcement. So one thing that I've been seeing, because we do see a lot of inappropriate attention seeking right now in our home, and we'll set an NCR every night. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but 10 to 15 minutes where my undivided attention is on my daughters, and we're doing kind of whatever they want, because it's the right attention and I'm giving them that attention. And you tend to see then more appropriate attention seeking behaviors across the board because of that non-contingent reinforcement.
So one of the things that we do, and let me know your thoughts on this, and I know some other families do this as well, we all get into this thing of like, where if a behavior isn't right, you hear, no, you're not supposed to do that, or, give another example, or try to, model a different way to handle it. However, often when their child is of any age, by the way, and this is for anybody watching, it doesn't matter how old your kid is, I say this almost every video, these strategies can work of a child of 2 or 52. We don't care the age. But often we don't reinforce good behavior. And I think sometimes that's kind of lacking. So if a child does something, it's like, oh, that's great. You might reinforce it the first time they do it, but you almost always don't remember it. It becomes almost like a habit, right? Of like, oh, they're just going to do that. Great. But then when they're not doing something they should be doing, right? Like if they're doing a tantrum or a meltdown, or you're so focused on that you forget to give the attention on the positive stuff. And so I'm always reminding myself with my son, like when he's doing something like that, I don't even have to ask him, right? Like putting his clothes in the dirty hamper. Oh my gosh, I love that, dude. You're awesome. And I kind of exaggerate it a little bit because I know to him, it's like, oh yeah, I did it. So it's not always getting that kind of like mom or dad lighting up, a Christmas tree, right? It's not like you're lighting up like a Christmas tree of basically every single time they're doing something negative. You want to make sure that you're also getting really excited when they're doing something positive. What's your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. That's actually one of the most important things, I think. And that's kind of the basis behind like a token system, where you're actively going out of your way and reinforcing appropriate behaviors you're seeing. Like, oh my gosh, thank you for putting your dishes away appropriately, or great job with using your words appropriately, and just really reinforcing the good behaviors instead of always, don't do this, don't do that. No, like really reinforcing the appropriate behavior. So I absolutely agree. I think that's actually one of the most important things.
I love that. And so now let's talk about, how can I help my child with social skills during these times? Because, oh my goodness gracious, we were just getting my son to be able to go into the grocery store and like get excited. And now I'm like, I don't even like going into the grocery store. I'm not bringing him into the grocery store. It seems like right now, everybody's just not in a very good mood. They're hurried. They're wanting to get there. They need to go in, get out. The lines are insane. You actually can, it's not even predictable for adults right now. Yeah. You go to one store one day, there could be no line outside. The very next day you could go and the line is out the door and the rules have changed, right?
Right.
So how do we set our kids up for success and help them with social skills during?
I know. Oh my, some of the things that we've been doing, I've done FaceTime play dates, Skype play dates, Zoom play dates with friends, virtual, so you can have that and get that social skills. I feel like now we are breaking into a time, at least during the coronavirus time, that you can at least put together smaller groups of like 2 to 3 kids. And so we actually have been doing a little bit more of those, where we'll have a friend over or meet at a park outside area where we usually I'll pick like a topic and this kind of stuff, and we're playing soccer and working on certain skills and that kind of stuff. So just trying our best to stay around friends and work on those social skills, because a lot of people aren't getting the ABA that they're used to, or in the social skills large class. Usually social skills classes aren't that many kiddos in them anyways. Usually it's like max is usually like 10. It's like 8 to 10 kids, but they're definitely smaller settings now. So
and so what can the families do at home that can't be around other kids? Is there any other tips, like the Zoom thing?
Honestly, I would say the Zoom and the Skype and that kind of stuff, and setting up stuff, and like people that they can be talking to. I had my daughter having every day. I'm like, okay, we have to pick 2 of our friends that we're going to call today, and what are things, and priming them for like, what are things that we can talk about? Because it's a little bit different, obviously, when you're on like a Zoom opposed to in person. We actually we did Zoom like sharing opportunities for my youngest one, where she got actually we did one last week where she wanted to share my parents' new dog, and we talked about the new dog and questions the friends might want and that kind of stuff. So honestly, using social media and some of these platforms, I guess, to our advantage, the best that we can do right now while we are kind of still semi on lockdown.
One of the things that we did, because some of the kids with autism don't have either siblings, or they don't have friends that can come over, or maybe even Zoom might be a little bit too much for them.
Yeah.
I know with my son, Zoom, we bought that portal, and we were trying to have his grandparents be able to see him through the portal. His attention span is like, he's kind of just like, okay, and he doesn't like it if it pauses, and there's a whole bunch of others. We're still practicing, and I love.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we did recently, we were at the beach, and we love the beach because we can, be far away from people, and we can still see people. And so he was looking at some children, and in the past, I'd say, oh, go say hello. But because I don't know what that group is feeling, because with COVID, you don't really understand, like, maybe even if it's a small group, some families still don't want to be around anybody. So we want to be respectful of that. But my heart was kind of like, oh, like, I really wanted to like use that opportunity of like for social skills. And I was feeling kind of sad as a mom watching him from a distance watch these, they were all siblings playing. And so I said, oh, Jackson, I know you want to say hi. And he's like all shy. So he's whispering, hi. But they're like so far away, like they can't, like, they're not super far, but far enough away where they couldn't hear. And so as we were leaving, I had talked to the family, and I said, my son just really wants to say hi to your kiddos, and he has autism, and we're just trying to practice social skills. And they were, oh my goodness, so ridiculously amazing. They were like, oh my gosh, of course. And like, they're like, hi, what's your name? And it was literally only probably 3 to 4 minutes. We kept our distance. But like, if you're a parent out there and you see an opportunity like that, it was great. His whole face just lit up, and hi, and everyone's saying hi, and he's saying hi. And it was a total victory, because that's all he wanted. Like, he just wanted to be able to do that. So as we left, it was like he was on cloud 9. It was super exciting. And it was such a great example. So I think even for parents, like, I had to get out of my comfort zone. Like, I had to be like, all right, 1, we're in COVID times. 2, like, I don't know what they're going to say. But I thought, the worst they can say is, we're not really interested. Okay. And so I think as parents out there, anytime you see an opportunity that might make sense, where you feel it's safe, where you feel that your child, could potentially be set up for success, that's what we did. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, exactly. No, exactly like that. Like, in helping set up an opportunity for them to engage with another child. Like, we were actually at the park, and you could see people starting to get closer together, but they're kind of like socially distanced playing. But there were some kids in the sand playing. I could tell my daughter wanted to play, but like, hey, went up and asked the parents, like, are you okay with them sitting right next to like each other and that kind of stuff. But yeah, trying to set up an appropriate opportunity where then she can ask to play, and they're kind of socially distanced as well. So absolutely, I think that's, if you feel comfortable in that situation, I think that's absolutely the best case.
It's crazy during these times we have to think so outside the box. I mean, with autism, you already have to think way outside the box. But then during COVID and autism, oh my goodness, it's just been completely a different way to think.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about nutrition and supplementation. What's your thoughts on that?
So I, coming from a girl that I'm a board certified behavior analyst, so this is definitely a little bit outside of my realm, or is outside of my realm. I was thrown into this because of struggles with my own daughters, and one of my daughters that has cyclic vomiting syndrome, and I just got so into the nutrition world. Also coming from someone that would eat flaming hot Cheetos for breakfast, I had no idea the importance of nutrition. And I'm a firm believer that I think when a child gets a diagnosis, or in general, it's always important to look at like a child's possible nutrient deficits, looking into speech pathology and ABA therapy. I think all of those are really important. I'm all about early diagnosis and early intervention and looking at all those things. But I've seen such a difference in going to a good biomedical doctor, functional medicine doctor, and nutrition. And I became so passionate about it that I started a supplement company, and I thought I was kind of done with some of this stuff, but I saw the need. I saw how much junk, and I'm sure because you're into supplements as well, but how much junk is out there and in supplements, and gluten and casein and binding agents, and just stuff that you wouldn't expect, metals, bacteria that you're finding in supplements. And it's scary. And a supplement that does third-party test and goes above and beyond. And, we're really big. I want to use my platform after selling the ABA company just to support families. I'm all about supporting families, educating. I'm a firm believer that that powers knowledge, and education is so important. So helping families. So we at Simple Spectrum, we want our brand to be known as a company that really supports and educates our families. So I can use my BCBA tips. And I know you said that we post a lot of tips, and whether it be sensory related or tips for picky eaters, because I do a lot of food programs as well. But I thought that was really important. But I've seen such a difference in my child's stomach issues, and supplements have just been key for us, real big. Looking into also the gluten-free, casein-free diets, that kind of stuff. Those have been game changers for us. And I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know the difference that kind of stuff that made.
Well, I know at Autism Hope Alliance, one of our taglines is, if a child doesn't feel good, they can't do good. And so, we're huge, as you know, about nutrition and supplements, and just trying to have that child, again, of any age, feel good, because then these therapies, I mean, if a child's not feeling good, or an individual, and, again, I always say this because I don't want to get emails, that, oh, you said child. I don't care. Again, I repeat it over and over again. I don't care if you're 52, you're somebody's kiddo, right? And so, but you think, oh, therapy, but yet, I often feel for these therapists, because if a child is, all of a sudden constipated, or they have limited language or no language, or they're bloated, or they have a headache because of something they ate, or they're having skin rashes, there's just so many things. And maybe they can't verbalize that to whomever. How is any therapy going to work? I can tell you right now, if I have a headache and a horrible migraine, I'm not going to be able to sit there and be super attention to whatever I need to do. I always think of it like the Charlie Brown cartoon, where you hear the teacher going, wah, 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 wah. If a child's not feeling good, that's all they're hearing. And then you think, oh, the therapy's not working. That's not true. The therapist needs your child to feel good and be good from the inside out. So that way, when they're at their, highest performance inside, that therapy can really, really then shine and do so much better.
Exactly. Like I said, I'm a firm believer that obviously if a child's able to focus a little bit better, sleep a little better, their stomach's feeling better, there's no outside things affecting them as much, that they can really take in those therapies and be their best version of themselves. So, just feel their best. And I think that that's really important. And with our supplement, we're real big. We want it to just be more accessible and affordable to families, because I'm sure you also know how expensive some of these supplements can be. So we're all about creating an all-in-one supplement, because I know one of the times my daughter has sensory processing disorder as well. And I it was impossible for me to give her all these supplements. So an all-in-one was really important. I'm like, I can't even get her to eat, let alone taking all these different supplements. So that was really important as well.
And where can they find information about your supplements?
They can go to www.simplespectrumsupplement.com, and we're also sold on Amazon. Actually, we have a lot of real retailers. Some of our biggest markets now are Australia, South Africa, and the UK as well. So I think that was one of the things that we were so passionate about as well, because there's still countries that just don't have much access to treatments out there. So if you can help with some of the nutrition aspect, or you can help with that while they're waiting to get ABA services, or especially with everything going on with coronavirus, I think that it's, like I said, important to look at the big picture and everything that might be going on.
And with your supplement, it doesn't matter how old they are, right? It's not.
Yeah, it's all ages. It's just a better supplement. It's honestly, it's how all supplements should be. The highest quality ingredients, most bioavailable forms, and just nothing else in it. Like when you look at the back, there's no other ingredients really in it. So like just the vitamins and minerals, which is how they should be.
Mineral kind of combo.
Yeah. And I had no idea. Like my husband works in, he manages bands, but he also got into like working with like athletes and that kind of stuff. And you'd see some of the athletes coming back with failed drug tests that would come back showing certain things. And it linked back to supplements that they were taking that weren't third-party tested, that had trace amounts of steroids or bacteria or other things in it. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like the lack of regulation for supplements is crazy. And once again, like I said, I talk about using my platform to just educate and support families. I was actually, when I started my ABA company, I was very involved in getting SB 946 to pass. And that was a mandate where insurance started paying for ABA in 2013. And I'm very actively trying to get insurance to reimburse for supplements. I think it's really important to look at that and possible nutrient deficits. And insurance is to recognize that. And we've been successful in getting a lot of insurances to reimburse for our product. I just think it's so important and it makes such a big difference. So,
and parents can take the supplement as well.
Yeah, I hear whole families taking it. I take it. It's amazing. Yeah.
I just got mine the other day in the mail, so I'm excited.
I hear about whole families taking it and loving it. It's just a better supplement.
I love it. I love it. And so for families watching right now, I know we talked about behavior, we talked about nutrition, we talked about supplements and just everything today. What message do you want to leave them with that they maybe right now is still kind of feeling like, I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to start. I maybe feel a little helpless.
The big thing that I tell the parents of anything, and just to add to my plate of other things, is early intervention. Get your kid into services early as possible. Talk to your doctor. Unfortunately, I think a lot of pediatricians still aren't aware of some of the signs and that kind of stuff, but getting a diagnosis earlier and early intervention. I'm a firm believer in early intervention and looking at the big picture. So getting into speech therapy, ABA, and looking at nutrient deficits, looking at the big picture. So I'm actually, that's another thing that I'm trying to kind of help with and put together something. So pediatricians are more aware of what, I don't know if you've recently seen that the age for diagnosis for autism, the average age now is 4.5. And it can be diagnosed much earlier, as you know, but a lot of pediatricians, they're just like, oh, it'll come. And having them be a little bit more aware. So I'm putting stuff together for pediatricians to see, so they're aware of those signs earlier. So, because like I said, early intervention is so important.
I love it. So, well, thank you so much for being here today, Heather. I feel like we just got so much information and I love, and we totally need that, especially during this crazy time right now. It's important to keep our minds healthy and our bodies healthy. So thank you so much for being here. And for everyone watching, thank you. Until next time. Bye, guys.